Hello everyone and welcome back to the pit. In today's video we return to the Netherlands. It's 1944. Yes, it's Operation Market Garden. We are currently in round 2 out of 5 of this mini campaign, and today we battle in the Eindhoven sector. More precisely, we are battling for Son Bridge. Now, awards to the wise. As I've said multiple times, this is an ongoing campaign, but all the games that you see, all the reports you watch, are for a playtesting perspective. Because I planned a couple of things in advance, trying to balance things, but as it happens, when you try to do things, they might or they might not work, and that is why playtesting is always so important in gaming. So what you are going to see is a battle that turned out to be probably slightly more imbalanced than what I would have liked to, which prompted me to do some little bit of changes in the format. But that is something that, this is something we discussed with the players after the battle, but I will return to this subject matter more in the last part of the video. For now on, let's move to the battle itself. As said, we are fighting over the bridge near the city of Son, north of Eindhoven, and it's a bridge over the Wilhelmina Canal. Very strategic bridge to capture. Now, historically, there was no battle for Son Bridge, despite it being one of the objects of the targets of the invasion, because the Germans blew the bridge up before the Americans got there. So let's see what will happen in this battle. The rules are very, very similar to those in the first battle. Now, as a side note, all battles in the first couple turns, namely the first two, are bridge assaults. In the last 3 turns of the campaign, we will have more different gameplay, more variation. So the objective is very simple: hold the bridge at game's end or blow it up. Game duration 8 turns, with a possibility of an extra one or on a 4+. Special rules: the Germans, if they have a pioneer unit, they can try and blow up the bridge. Now, as a side note, Filippo, the German player, lost his only pioneer unit in the first battle, so he will have no possibility of blowing the bridge up. And this is the first time we encounter a sort of consequence that carried over from previous battles. As far as troops are concerned, so far players have been able to basically use whichever troops they want within the framework that I gave them as a roster, but is an army roster basically. I mentioned this, I touched on this in my introductory video about the campaign. Now, as per the army lists, let's begin with the Germans. Filippo opted for a 3-platoon army, 1 platoon with an officer and 3 medium machine guns, another platoon with a stronger command unit, a sniper, 2 grenadier units, regular, 1 with 3 assault rifles, and a 3rd rifle platoon with a 2nd sniper, another 5-man command squad, a third Grenadier squad with 1 LMG, and then 1 Sicherung squad of inexperienced troops, and one regiment of Luftwaffe field division. So we have platoon number 1, 2, and 3 for a grand total of 13 order dice. I like the I was sent beforehand this army list, and I already thought it was very, very solid. Keep in mind that Filippo had no possibility of using veteran troops, because in the Eindhoven area there were mostly reserves and untrained troops hanging around. But it went for a very solid fire base. And as we are going to see, his choices actually will prove to be very, very effective. Now let's take a look at the table. This is the gaming table for this battle. Now we see the bridge, Sun Bridge. The German player is allowed to set up anywhere he wants on the table. The US paratroopers are entering from the bottom of the screen here. So basically we have the outskirts of the town of Son, and the paratroopers will approach from here. So we have a couple of buildings, some ruins, some bushes. Again, as per line of sight, we rule that 2 rows of bushes block line of sight, a single row does not. Of course, it provides light cover. These are woods, light cover, dense terrains, buildings, etc., etc. This is more of a detail, but you get the gist. So the Germans do have a solid defensive position with a couple of kill zones here in front, which were, I did them knowing that these zones were here. I thought that the US player could still approach them, but again, don't let me spoil things too much. This is the sort of back row, the back part of the city. Again, the same scene from the other side, a little bit zoomed in, and a little bit of a view from above. Now this is the US Army list. We have 3 platoons as well, and 13 order dice as well, so we have 13 versus 13. Now, of course, the US players, as all veteran units, we have rifle platoon with platoon leader with 1 attendant, and 2 full 10-man squads, one of which has a Sarge with a singular SMG. All the rest are armed with rifle. A second support platoon. We have the same command team of 1 leader plus 1 man, and 2 support paratrooper units of 6 men, including 1 LMG, a medic, and double light mortar. And finally, we have an extra infantry platoon made up of the usual setup of commander of 1 plus 1 and 3 6-man ad hoc paratrooper teams, which are basically paratroopers with a max unit size of 6 men and less weapon options. Here you see the various troops. This is the first platoon, second platoon, and third platoon. Now, please note that this is something that the US player, Paolo, prepared. He did this on his own, and this is the kind of things that I think make playing a game like Bolt Action so much more satisfactory, because you can try and really get into the groove, so to speak. So this is where he keeps all of his army lists. This is where he keeps all his briefings, and let me tell you, it's really a joy to play with a gamer like him that not only plays to win technically, but he plays as a social experience. He likes to play in character, etc. So big props to Paolo for doing something like this. I really love him for this. So as per game rules, the Germans set up first, and this is what they go with. So we have one sniper on the second floor of the building here. We have on the first floor one MMG. The single officer is actually on the ground floor. This is the Luftwaffe Field Division. This is one of the command squad, of the 5-man command squads in the ruins. In the double-story corner buildings, we have on the ground floor the Sicherung battalion, the green inexperienced troopers, and on the first floor we have the 8-man here grenadier team with one LMG. Then we have stationed on the bridge a second MMG. Hiding behind some buildings we have the third command squad and the regular grenadier team with 3 assault rifles. We have the third MMG on the second floor on this of this house. The last grenadier teams, 8 men with rifles, and in the house on the opposite side of the map we have the second sniper. So we have a sort of symmetrical layout for the Germans. So it's game turn 1, and now something funny happens. So we start pulling dice, and of course most of the German troops turn out to be in ambush order, while with the first orders the Americans actually enter from the left flank. We see one of the 10-man paratrooper teams and one of the fire support 6-man team with the LMG. And so I keep pulling dices, and like all of them are gray. So German. And actually, why this photo? These were the dice still in the bag by the time I finished pulling all the German dice. So remember, the battle started with 13 order dice apiece in the bag, and in the bag there were still 9 US orders by the time the German dice were exhausted. So basically the German player went all in ambush, and then it was finally time for the American player to play as well. On the left, the advance is supported by one of the officers. In the center and in the right, there goes most of the troopers. The first light mortar enters and declares a shot on the 2-story building here. Here we have Filippo, who triggers the ambush from the Sicherung squad in the ground floor, and they turn out to be just out of range. But of course, this just helps him know the distance for the LMG that the grenadier team that is on the other floor armed with, and so he knows he has range. and actually he shoots a double Overwatch basically, but he achieves nothing but a pin. But the mortar shot goes astray, and so it's going to hit on a 5+ next turn. Here we see more and more American troops pouring in on the right flank. We have the second support squad with LMG, and we have the full 3 ad hoc teams with the medic and 1 officer. The second light mortar enters the fray and starts to lob shells at the 2-story building itself, but it's another miss. But we have 2 dice hitting on a 5+ next turn. And finally, the final large paratrooper units, the 10-man squad, enters from the right side as well. This is an overall look at the situation. So we have an American presence here on the left, while most of the troops are actually entering from the right. The third platoon commander, the heavy weapon platoon commander, starts behind the house here, hoping to provide some snap to action from the mortars. Now, spoiler, it turns out that Paolo slightly miscalculated his move and is just out of range of the second mortar. So, with a rather uneventful turn 1, we already move to battle round number 2, and the game starts with some mortar action, actually. This is where Paolo found out not to be in range of the second mortar, so just 1 fires, but it misses the target completely. The second mortar shoots as well, because they draw yet another US dice, and the second mortar has failed to hit as well, so we have 2 light mortar ranging in on a 4+ on the 2-story buildings. On the 2-story building with 2 units inside. Meanwhile, on the right flank, the ad hoc teams start advancing. Here we see a snap to action by the German commander that lies in the ruins behind the corner house, because now that the mortars are ranging in, Filippo doesn't want his men to just sit there and take it. So we have the both troops actually wanting to move, namely the Sicherung just walk outside their protection to leave room for the grenadiers who were on the first floor and are now on the bottom floor. They are inexperienced, but still they shoot and actually put a pin on the enemy. Here we see some fire from I think this was the LMG of the grenadier team, who kills 1 mortar operator, but the survivor passes his alone check and doesn't go anywhere. Here we see more advancing. The second ad hoc team opens fire on the exposed, inexperienced team. They have a very, very nice line of fire. They still lose 1 to an ambush shot from, I don't remember where, probably from this sniper actually. Meanwhile, the fire support team, the LMG from the second squad, again opens fire at the inexperienced there, but the only 2 hits do not even wound the inexperienced troopers. This is a shot taken from the bridge itself. This is the MMG that is commanding the bridge. Here we see a general advance mixed with a couple of runs from the US paratroopers on the right side. with the ad hoc teams spearheading the assault. On the left flank, the support elements also advance, but they turn out to be, of course, in ambush range from the opposite MMG, and the team loses one man while only managing a single pin on the MMG that just shot at them. The second unit, the full squad, advances as well, while the team leader, wary of snipers, decides to just stand back and provide some moral support. Here we see what he is scared about, of the sniper that is up here. The MMG on the bridge is still in ambush mode, just in case someone dares to go in the center. The second sniper goes into ambush as well. Here is a look of the other 8-man grenadier units. And we are already to turn number 3. Again, the turn begins with a mortar bombardment, which this time actually hits the house, but the shot explodes on the now vacated second floor, so without hurting anybody. And the second mortar shoots as well. It scores another hit. This time the projectile actually manages to land on the ground floor, but the only result, unfortunately, is a single pin and a single casualty for the Germans. Still, they weren't very keen about remaining in the area. Here we see another snap to order issued by the German leader that is actually in the ruins behind the corner house. The inexperienced are ordered to actually run, while the grenadiers are ordered to advance. Now, the inexperienced actually botched their role, and I think they just go down, while the grenadiers exit the building under mortar fire from the other side, from this door here, and they actually put more fire on the LNG team down here. Here we see the failed roll by the inexperienced troops, despite the presence of the officer nearby. And here we see the grenadiers shooting at the U.S. troopers without causing too many problems. Actually, they managed to kill one of them, because the U.S. troopers here were on ambush. So it turned out like this: they were in ambush. The grenadiers exited the building. They put one pin on them. They shoot back and killed one man of the team. Now we have some more. We have some more fire directed at the inexperienced team. This time, 2 of them bite the dust. Now, as per their green roll, they turn out to be still unexperienced, and so they will be for the rest of the game. Again, in the center, there is still ambushing by the MMG, and more advance on the right-hand side. Here we see the MMG on the left opening fire on the ad hoc team that had just advanced, so they get a second pin put on them. Meanwhile, the other ad hoc team now starts to running. This is where the sniper is hiding. Following the example, more troopers follow. Again, this is after the troopers moved. These are the three in total, the three ad hoc teams. This is a full strength team, command squad, and medic. The sniper on the German right flank keeps going into ambush, but it will end up not doing too much during the course of the game. Here we see the US officer advancing, and unfortunately the five-man team that was right beside the commander actually managed to fail their role. They were ordered to advance and keep shooting, but they refused, and they with an 11 they just hit the ground and went down. That was very unlucky by Paolo. Here we see another snap to action, this time by the German officer that was behind the buildings here. This is another advance. This is actually another snap to action on the right. More shooting, ineffective shooting by the sniper who just manages a pin. And more shooting again from the Germans, of course, that are hiding behind the inside the houses here. So no, this is no, they just went down. This was not a snap to action. They just bought their time because there was no one they saw, so they decided just to lay low for the time being. While actually the grenadier team that were originally in the building here, they actually wanna and start to move back to look for more cover. Again, as we said, the sniper just manages a pin on the fire support element, but no wound. And here we have another ambush by the 8-man grenadier team, as we head into turn number 4. Turn number 4, we see progress on the US right flank, while the center is, we have a sort of a standoff because the light mortars actually drove away the Germans from the central building here, but now they are afraid to move forward because they are scared of the MMG that is actually leading from the menaciously from the bridge itself. On the left hand side, the fire support element of the LMG is not providing much support fire. Now, actually, we discussed things a bit in the aftermath, so that's when I will make further consideration on the US Army composition. But for now, this is the situation at the beginning of turn 4. There has been some advancing done, but not too much. The game is still long. There are at least 8 turns to be played, but so far the American advance has been somewhat slow. Again, this is the view from the other side of the table. This is the American right side of the table. The turn begins with a light mortar actually landing a perfect hit on first try on the poor Sikarung inexperienced. They drop 2 more inexperienced troopers dead, and now they have a total of 5 pin markers on them. Now we start joking among ourselves that these are like 80 years old, and we basically laugh at the US player shooting at old men. But of course he says, no, they are Germans, they need to die. The other mortar opens fire on the grenadiers on the other side of the hull, but to no avail. The fire support team actually tries to get rid of the old man for good, but this is the result of the shooting dice. So he was hitting on 4 and he didn't even manage a single hit. So by now the American player Paolo hasn't shot much, but besides some effective mortar fire, his regular fire has been really disappointing. Very bad rolls all over the place. The Grenadiers actually move behind the cover of the ruins here, where their leader is hanging out. They shoot back because they do have the LMG at the American LMG support squad, and they nab yet another man, so it's just the LMG left of the original 6 troopers, and now they have a grand total of 3 pins. This is a badly bad photo, I'm sorry. This is another old man that was killed by the ad hoc squad, so now they have 6 pins at just 2 men left. This is where the poor men are actually left, and here we see the ad hoc teams advancing while the MMG opens fire on them, dropping another man down. This is the result of the fire by the German grenadiers that were in ambush inside of this house. Now, fun thing, the Paolo actually wanted his men to enter this building. Remember, this is where a sniper is actually perched in, but he wouldn't have been able to actually enter the building because not all models were within 1 inch of an entrance. But luckily for him, the fact that he lost 2 men on the way there meant that by the time the run move was completed, he was actually able to enter the building with the 4 surviving men. Now this is the snap to advance move by the German officer and the 8-man team with assault rifles. The officer moves back, as do the other grenadiers, leaving only the assault rifles to shoot at the house where the 4 troopers advanced just a couple of seconds before. And with some impressive fire and some miserable cover saves, they actually drop 2 of the out of the 4 men. Now, keep in mind that by now, I think Paolo didn't hit a single cover roll. Most of them so far have been 5 pluses because of light cover, but even when he moved to hard cover, there was just no joy for him. So there were 2 hits, 2 kills, with just 6 shots. The full man paratrooper team actually tries to follow up the assault on the right hand side. This is, and they actually land a couple of shots on the grenadiers inside, but only manage a pin. So again, no joy whatsoever. In the meantime, the sniper keeps on shooting. Again, oh, sorry for the horrible photo. This time he shoots at the 10-man team, and this time he manages to bag the NCO. Actually, on the right, more advancing by the by the US is met by regular rifle fire by the two-man sniper team that are on the second floor of the building, and yet with just 2 rifles they still manage to bag 1 US trooper. Again, by this time it really was absurd, the bad luck that Paolo was having, or the good one that was being had by Filippo. You make your choice. So these guys actually managed to put the guys that were shot at by the ambushing snipers, they put their shot in the grenadiers, they pinned them once, but of course no joy in wounding. More ambushes. This is the right German flank. And here is the situation by the end of round, while the officer and the medic actually moving forward to provide some support. Here is the same situation, only viewed from the right side. And this is the situation on the German right side, where we have an advance by the almost full-strength paratrooper squad, but they really look pretty much unsupported by now. Keep in mind that in all of this, the Luftwaffe field division team inside here hasn't shot a single time. They just were there. So this is the advance roll. Again, the ambush fire is sprung by the MMG. Now, this was the first time the ENG actually fired, but they achieved absolutely nothing, as is befitting to some inexperienced troopers. The German officer in the ruin actually moves to a firing position to put fire himself on the paratroopers here. They give them a second ping. Now, actually, no, the sniper didn't kill the NCO here yet. So as you can see, they are still at 10 men. The LMG, the survivors of the original fire support element team, is ordered to back up by the command, but they fail their order despite having the angry lieutenant looking at them from behind, and they go to ground. The 2 survivors of the Sicherung team, they manage to rally. They had like 6 pings, remember, now they are free to move as they wish. And this is the overall situation. Now, we are not going to lie, the situation by now is a little bit grim for the attackers, because their fire support elements are either almost neutralized or pretty much out of range of the juicy targets, so to speak. Plus, the US player is rather disheartened by now, is lost quite a few men, while the Germans have lost, I think, like 7 or 8 models in total, most of them being inexperienced troopers from the Sicherung team. Again, this is an overall look at the situation, and this is a look at how things are on the right. So we have the most advanced elements of the 101st that are in the same building where the sniper lies waiting, but there are more elements ready to put shots into them. New turn. The mortar keeps firing. but no joy. Actually, this has been misplaced. This was the beginning of turn 5. We have the mortar firing, but managing nothing. In the center, once again, the ad hoc team that was on the left-hand side manages to fail. This was, by the way, this was a rally order, and yet they failed the rally order with another 11. And I think this is what literally broke the US morale. Next, we have another snap to action by the Germans. Here are the 3 assault rifles, the MMG. They open fire indiscriminately. They actually drop 2 men from one of the ad hoc, the more advanced ad hoc. The officer actually moves behind the houses because he wants to provide some morale over this side of the board, and the 3 assault rifles just open fire at the two troopers inside the building. Now they shot 6 times on a 4+, and he hit with 6 shots. It was insane. Filippo was really on fire that night, and I think this has been the first occurrence of a single cover roll made by Paolo, because otherwise the whole squad would have been wiped. So yay, great success. Just the NCO left in the unit. Another snap to action from the officer on the back of the 2-story building on the right. The 2 old men actually flee for the safety of the bridge, while the grenadiers open fire along with the commander on the paratroopers here. They drop a total of 3 men. The command squad itself actually starts moving towards the left flank, because now the right flank seems like pretty secured by now. So they actually shoot at the guys that went down, the ones that failed the order. Once again, sorry for the bad picture. This time they were saved only by the fact that their cover save was down to a 3+, because of them, in account for them being down. So that was very sad. Finally, the support LMG manages to head back, and now the sniper, actually, this is where he bags the NCO of the paratrooper units. They are now on 4 pins. More shooting by the grenadiers. These are the survivors of the left-hand side paratroop units. They manage to arrive by the 2-story corner buildings, but their situation is pretty grim. The lone surviving NCO tries to charge, and actually charges the sniper team on the 2nd floor, but he's mercilessly gunned down. More fire, is poured on the poor guys in the center, and the situation by now is pretty tragic. Finally, 1 grenadier goes down, but this is definitely a little bit too little too late. Now, German troops are actually starting to move around the house because they want to actually go down. Now the officer is on the central part of the building, but on the ground floor, and the Luftwaffe field division are actually going to move on the first floor of the same section of the board. Again, this is an overall look at the situation. Yeah, and the US really don't have much left. They lost a whole unit of ad hoc here. The other two ad hoc units are basically neutered. One of the paratrooper squads is more dead than alive. It's only at full strength one of the let's call them support LMG teams, but they are going nowhere, and the only other fighting fit, so to speak, squad is this paratrooper team on the right. The light mortars, they really try their best, but to no avail. Meanwhile, the medic is shot down in the woods, and he dies, killed by the sniper team. Again, this is the situation from the German side, and they are pretty much in control all over the place. Again, basically this MMG here hasn't shot a single time. It's been all the time in ambush, but of course nobody dared to walk on the road, and so he remained there. And so we move to turn 6, and this is where Paolo decides that it's time to call back the guys where possible. The Germans keep on shooting where possible. Now is the right-hand side unit finding itself under fire. Here they lose one more man, and they start accruing pins because all German squads that see them, they just shoot at them. This is the command squad actually going up the bridge, while the original LMG Grenadier team enters in this building here. This is more movements as the Germans try to vacate the building. The lone officer goes outside for a hike, and the Luftwaffe field division also start to move. Again, this is more and more shots towards the center paratroopers, who actually tried to run back, but they failed their check because they were super pinned, and there was no luck there. So this was the end of turn 6, the situation at the end of the turn. Now, I have a rule in place for the campaign that actually allow for both players to retreat at the end of a combat round if the commander believes the situation to be untenable, in order to try and prevent further losses. Because remember, if you lose an order dice of a unit, that unit gets actually deleted from the roster, and it's no longer available for the remainder of the campaign. Now, how does retreat work? If your units are within, for example, in this situation, any units that were on the opposite side of the bridge would be automatically destroyed. Any unit that is beyond 12 inches of an enemy unit actually manages to disengage successfully. Any unit that is within 12 inches of an enemy model has to take an order test to see whether or not they disengage successfully. There are some modifiers to this roll. The modifiers are they get +1 if there's a friendly unit within 6 inches to aid on the retreat, and there's a +2 if there's an officer, despite the rank, within 12 inches, again providing support. The minus is the number of pin markers the unit has suffered. So basically, the US player had to roll for both of these paratrooper units. The one up here actually managed to manage the roll, and so they disengage successfully. Unfortunately, the troopers here were isolated, and as you see here, he rolled his order test. He rolled a 5. The unit had 5 pings. Now, usually, being these veterans, they would have disengaged successfully, but the unit lost their NCO to a sniper, so their base morale value was now down to a 9, and thus the unit was destroyed. These are the final losses for both teams. As you can see, the voila. The Germans lost nothing. They didn't lose a single order dice the whole game. It was insane. On the other hand, the US losses were light. In overall, they lost a single parachute units, 1 medic and 1 ad hoc team, but we were all left with the feeling that the game was not satisfactory. Now, again, dice were pretty horrible. Actually, there was this contrast between having good luck from one side coupled with bad luck from the other, and as you well know, if you found yourself in this very situation, it can be very, very, very frustrating. And so we started to think, besides the dice, I mean, bolt action is a game of dice, so sometimes the dice roll your way, sometimes they do not. But despite this fact, we started to think how things could have been done differently. Now, we argued that probably the US player should have brought some more effective covering fire. For example, instead of bringing these 6-man fire support teams with LMG, he could have gone with like 2 HMGs. HMGs now have a 48-inch range, so they outrange the enemy counterparts. For example, imagine an HMG sitting here. In 1 or 2 turns, he blows away the MMG here on the bridge, and then he can start pestering the other enemy MMGs or the enemy snipers, for example. So, in place of like 2 or even 3 of these, like, now think about this. For example, in place of this rifle platoon, imagine a heavy support platoon with like 2 HMGs and 1 medium mortar, which is longer range, or 2 HMGs and 1 medium mortar, or 3 HMGs. probably things would have gone very, very differently, because as it was, basically the German player had nobody shooting at him, and so his work was made way easier. But still, there might be something worth changing. For example, we decided that it would be more interesting, for example, to slightly shift this wood down here to provide an easier approach from the right side by the Americans, and for example providing some more cover here on the left. Now, I claim that another possibility was a kind of a frontal assault, despite how strange it would seem. If the US had more 10-man teams and not just smaller support teams, maybe they could have endured like one round of fire and then they would have been in hard cover. Granted, it would have still been difficult, but maybe it would have given them more of a chance. But in the end, we decided that maybe it would make sense, for example, to limit the German deployment area to a 12 inches circle from the bridge, because actually the bridge is the objective. So maybe only the infiltrators could be set up further and farther away. In this case, it would mean that there was no chance of starting actually the game with 2 units in the building here, or the MMG here, or the other MMG on the right. Again, these are all considerations. Now, part of the enjoyment of a game, to me at least, is to discuss things post-game in a sort of debriefing, if you will, where all people give their feedback, and actually I think it really helps you to feel better even if you lost. Now, keep in mind that both opponents were very, very gracious to each other. There was no name calling of any kind, so super props to Filippo and Paolo, because their sportsmanship was absolutely on point. In the end, it was decided that we are going to keep the result of the battle as it is, so this will count for the second US loss in the Eindhoven sector, but there might be some changes in further iterations of the campaign. So this is it for today's battle. I hope you enjoyed, and what to say, I'll see you in the next video as usual. Until that time, be safe and ciao ciao.